for just the rapid bookings part of things, I have total revenue is $41,223.
Right.
And for the month of July, we're not even done the month of July. I have booked $12,000 in weddings. Yeah, the rapid booking system has just like completely changed the way I do business and the way I do stuff, and it's made it so I actually have confidence. It's crazy how much it has changed the way I do things, and I'm so happy I took this course.
All right, cool, Ryan. Thanks for hopping on this interview. I've got a couple of questions. I know you've been working with us for a couple of months. I really want to dive into kind of your background, what your experience has been like, kind of what results you got.
Of course, I'm excited.
Cool. So, for those of us that don't know you, give us like a quick blurb, like a 1 minute blurb about who you are, how long you've been shooting weddings.
First things first, my name is Ryan. I've been shooting weddings for kind of around 5-ish years. I started working for other companies and shooting for them, and then kind of was like, hey, I'm stuck in a rut, and I want to do this on my own, and I want to be able to like make this an actual living as opposed to, hey, good luck. When it's not summertime, when it's not weddings, good luck. So I started shooting weddings on my own, and that really started during the pandemic. And then coming out of the pandemic, I was pushing to doing my own stuff. And yeah, the rapid booking system has just like completely changed the way I do business and the way I do stuff. And it's made it so I actually have confidence in my business and actually confidence to be able to do things. And yeah, it's weird to be like, oh, the blurb is about me, but it's about rapid bookings. But it's like, it's crazy how much it has changed the way I do things, and I'm so happy I took this course.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I definitely also have to applaud you. But like, what kind of made you want to kind of join us? Like, what was going on prior to us meeting, like in your business? What were you kind of struggling with?
So I was doing all the classic things of like I was updating my SEO. I had tried Facebook ads. I had done all these things and posting on Instagram as much as I could. And I would maybe get around 1 to 2 calls a month kind of thing. And it's like I was happy with the work I was producing, but I just wasn't getting the people coming in to chat with me about a wedding. And so I think it was around kind of February-ish, and I was just like, man, I need more. I need more, and I want to do more, and I want to charge at a higher level. And I saw the rapid booking ads, and I was like, hey, let's give this a try. And we got on a call, and yeah, I was like, let me do this course, and it was great. It completely changed my mindset. It did all those things and helped me kind of push to be the
Yeah.
photographer and be the kind of the more business owner that I am today.
Yeah, I hear you. Something that you and I know that others don't know is you were on our email list for a little while. Like,
Mm,
you didn't immediately pull the trigger.
yeah.
What made you hesitate, and then what finally got to you where you're like, you know what, I should probably pay attention to this.
Originally saw the ad and I kind of logged in and watched the video, and I was definitely scared of like, oh, I don't have a lot of money coming in at the moment, and I don't know how much this course is going to be. And it's like I had that hesitation, that scaredness. Um, but then I kept seeing ads and I kept seeing all the stuff, and I was like, you know what? I should just take the plunge and just get on a call and just like what's it all about and see if it's actually worth it and can help me kind of thing.
Yeah. So what kind of got you out of that shell? Because I know a lot of people, if they're in your shoes, they're like, hey, if business is slow, I definitely don't want to invest in the business. And they kind of stay stuck in that rut. But what got you that courage to push through?
I'd say it actually was the opposite of courage. I was terrified. I was terrified that I wouldn't have enough weddings for the year. I was terrified that like the next year I wouldn't have any weddings. And I
Yeah.
was kind of like, you know what? I feel like I'm kind of at a desperate moment, and instead of be humming and hawing and going like, oh, like I don't know what I'm gonna do, or it's like no, no, no. Try and take an active approach and seek out these options. Don't just be like, oh well, I gave it my best try. Time to go back to another job. It's like no, 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 no. Take advantage of this, and you know what? Like I saw a video ad with you, and I was just like, you know, he seems like a personable guy. I'm sure he's a great guy. Let's give this a try.
Yeah. And given that, you were kind of terrified, Ryan, was there like top one or two or three things that really convinced you in terms of this being the right decision for your life at that moment?
um, what I would say is that the confidence in what you were talking about in regards to what the course can do for you, and it was a confidence in like, hey, we can make sure that like you're getting those bookings, we can work with you to make these ads be successful, we can give you the sales and all this kind of like practice and the stuff to make sure that like when you're doing it, that you're not just like, okay, you came in, how's it going, do you like me? um, it was all these things of like, hey, this is what we can give you. This is what we can give you, and we can make it work. And it was just like that confidence was like, okay, you know what? This is worth the time. This is worth the investment, because if it works out, and if I can have the same confidence that he's getting on this call with, and do that for that thing, you know what? I can make this work as well. And I won't just be like, oh, his photos are real nice, but he has to work another job, he has to do other shoots. It's like, no, no, no. I can, if I can get that confidence, if I can get that thing, I can make this work.
Love that. That's amazing mindset improvement for you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So business wasn't where you wanted it to be. Kind of the
Mm,
root cause of it was just low volume of like leads and calls. Like one or two calls per month is definitely not enough.
yeah.
So rather than sitting there hemming and hawing and wishing what you could have been, you just decided to push through anyway, regardless of that fear. Our paths crossed. So then you become a client at Rapid Bookings.
Mm.
What's next? What happens for you then?
Then I start going through the course, and I am treating it like more than a full-time job. Like I'm like, let me get through this course, let me work through it all. Like I remember getting on some of the like coaching calls, and like I wasn't there at like the sales level yet, because I just started, but
Yeah.
there's people talking about all this stuff, and I'm just like, let me absorb all this, let me just take it all in. And there were people who were talking about like, oh yeah, I did the whole course within like 2 or 3 weeks, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to get started, I want to get going. I want to like, hey, and then so going through the course was just awesome for not just like, hey, here's how to do ads, here's how to do this. Like it's like, hey, here is building up that mindset, here's building up that thing. Like I was a perpetual like person who was like, oh, I don't have anything going on today. Let me like wake up when I want to. It's like, oh, 10 o'clock, and I'll bumble around. And then, oh, it's like 2 o'clock. Like, okay, I'll do a little bit of work. And then like, oh, it's after 5. I don't want to do any work anymore. So having those like going through the course and doing all that mindset stuff of like, where do you actually want to be, and what are your actual goals? And let's hammer it home, has completely like pushed me to be like, hey, no, this is much better to be like putting effort into a thing. I want to get there, so I want to put in the work as well.
Gotcha. So sounds like the mindset training was a huge part of your success. Was there anything else that really helped you out in terms of either the lessons or the overall experience?
I would say that the coaching calls are another like awesome thing. Having two coaching calls a week, and having not just you and Christina there to chat, having other people who are going through the course, who are literally on the same level as me and going through the same problems. All just talking to them and connecting with all of them is really great for just like having that extra bit of like, I'm not just alone here. And
Yeah.
also I see what they're running into problems. So I know I don't have to run into that problem. I already know what the solution is because we've talked about it on the coaching call. We've all worked together to do that kind of thing. And like, yeah, like when I was, by the time I was ready to run my ads, and by the time I was ready to um, get into these calls and do the sales thing, like I already had like all this other experience from all these other people. That I was like, hey, the course gave me this base foundation. All these other things help kind of build it up to the point where I feel a lot more confident on a call.
Yeah. You basically got to learn through everybody else's experience, their
Yeah,
wins, their falls, their mistakes. So you never had to like repeat yourself and start from scratch.
absolutely.
Gotcha. So, you were like, I think you still are like on pretty much 99% of the weekly coaching calls.
Mhm.
What's making you be like, okay, I have to carve out time and make sure I attend that, other than like, experience seeing other people's lessons? Like, yeah, why didn't you stop? Why are you still here?
I think for me, it's that it's kind of a two-pronged thing of there was still this has been like kind of like 6 months of course. Like no way have I learned every single thing for sales and ads for the rest of time. Like no, that's ridiculous. Um and I like that mindset thing of like, hey, I want to keep learning, I want to keep growing, I want to keep working at this thing and like getting like that coaching help and that stuff, it keeps me what's the word? It keeps me accountable. Keeps
Yeah.
me accountable in it. So I'm not just like, oh, I'll get to that later. It's like no, it keeps me accountable, it keeps me going in the calls, all that kind of thing. It makes sure that I have to um, do the ads tracking, do the tracking, all those things. Because if I'm showing up to a call and I don't have my stuff ready, I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
Um, and the other kind of prong is I got so much help from everyone else who's coming through the course at the same time or is running their ads and listening to them. And so like I want to be there to be able to help people as well. Like being able to just be on that call and someone has this problem and go like, hey, I've literally experienced that. And like people talk about like, oh, with the funnel, like there's a person who's coming in, they just want this whatever thing. And I go like, hey, this is how I made my funnel a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more friction. Here, I can help you out with this. Here's this kind of thing. And it's like, I'm sure that those people who get that kind of help then will pass that on to other people. And I feel like it's just kind of a helpful thing. And
Yeah.
it's yeah, we all celebrate and we all succeed together kind of thing.
100%. And I mean, I do also have to like pat you on the back, because I think you've also gotten on like calls with people and like helped them out. And I've heard this from other students. So like people are appreciative of you. And I think even this interview, like when we post in our community, like people are gonna
Mm.
cheer this on because they're gonna like, yay, there goes Ryan.
Yeah, it's been really helpful, and it's just like, yeah, I instead of just sitting there quietly being like, oh, this doesn't benefit me, it's like, no, you also learn by teaching.
Yeah.
If I help out someone else, if I then falter in the way I told them to help out, it's like, no, no, it's okay. I said this. I have to do it as well. I can't just say like, oh, I didn't do my ads tracking this way. It's like, no, no, no. I have to keep up with it. I've already said it to someone else. Yeah, just keeping up and keeping on it, I think is really important.
Right. Well, let's talk about results. You're in, you go through everything, set up the ads.
Yep.
What's been your total results so far in terms of revenue?
So I, for just the rapid bookings part of things, I have total revenue is $41,223. Um, and I want to preface that as well by saying that's not people who came through my thing naturally, and I use the same style and sales calls and all the information I learned from this course. So I want to say it's higher. I just don't have that number in front of me right now.
Gotcha. So organically, you use the sales script and everything and book some more
Yeah.
clients.
If I don't have that sales script open, I basically memorized it at this point, all the questions I need to ask.
Yeah.
But like I love having it open because it just creates an awesome framework. I have had people like it's literally that thing of, hey, this meeting was so organized and you were so on top of things. And I'm like, I'm just following the sales script. And I'm not repeating it verbatim, but I'm just following it as a thing. And like people have, yeah, it's been great.
Gotcha. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I'm going to close my window. I'm getting blown out.
Yeah, it's coming in real bright.
All right. There we go. Um, what about your ad spend? In during that time, you did roughly like $41,000. How
Yeah.
many months did you run the ads? Total, how much have you spent?
So the tracking I've done is we're looking at kind of that 4 month period, and the total spent for that is $1,813. And
Nice.
so that's worth it in my books. That's easily worth
Yeah.
it.
I see you smiling, cheesing. I mean,
Yeah.
prior to all of this, like what was your like before joining us at
Mm.
Rapid Bookings, what was kind of your annual revenue?
Um, so my annual revenue with this is like taking on other shoots, doing all this stuff, all these other like odd jobs here and there that didn't necessarily like as much. It was probably around 70 to 80K ish Canadian.
Yeah. Gotcha. And so you were able to do pretty much half of your annual revenue in 4 months with just kind of weddings and your
Yeah,
own weddings.
yeah, it's awesome.
I'm gonna guess you stopped all of your side hustles and little side jobs.
I was doing this thing and they would book me out for random food shoots, and I was like no longer available for bookings. I'd rather be home for a call,
Yeah.
or like it's just, or like have that time available as
Yeah.
opposed to getting $100 during a food shoot or whatever. I'd rather be home and working on my actual business that I actually enjoy and is actually something that's really important for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ryan, let's kind of dive in to this kind of the sales process because I heard you say this on a coaching call to another student and you were kind of shifting their mind about sales.
Mhm.
And a lot of people watching this, like in the wedding industry, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to be salesy. And
Mhm.
they just think like if we ask for what we're worth, if we just even have a proper consultation or whatnot, that's being salesy. I mean, for anybody like watching this, I mean, what's kind of going on? Are you holding a gun to people's head and literally saying, like, pay me? Like, what's the key to your success?
I would say that the main thing for me is that, um, yeah, the mindset side of, hey, I'm worth this, and it's okay that I charge this because I have this many years experience, this many things, all those things that go like, hey, I take amazing images, and the main thing is that like, yeah, there could be other photographers out there who could take better photos, but I'm not inside their head. I don't know that for sure. I don't know if this person is going to have a bad day and that's going to screw up their whole thing. I don't know if this person is going to be late for the thing. I know that I'm not going to be late. I know that I'm going to do the best I can. I know that I'm going to give the best I can to this couple no matter what. And I'm going to make sure that I'm there, I'm on the ball, I'm doing all that kind of stuff. So going into that like and asking for money is like, yeah, I'm totally worth it because I have been through all this thing. I've done all these things. And I know I have the confidence to do your wedding right. So that's the first side of things. It's like, hey, I ask for this because this is what I'm worth. And there are people who come to me and they're like, oh, our budget is like 2 grand for 10 hours of photo coverage. And I go like, yeah, I used to be like, okay, how do I make this work? And it's like
Yeah.
be like, hey, this is what I cost. And if you're willing to pay that, cool. If you're not, it's going to be the next person. And I think the other thing in the actual calls is stuff. I'm not trying to go in and be like car salesman, like I want to book you, I want to all this stuff. It's like I want to be clear and get what they're coming from as well. Like I was doing sales stuff before and it was just like, oh, like kind of loosey goosey, but um when I'm coming to the end and coming to the objective handling, all that kind of stuff, like I want to make sure that I'm fully on their page, like I'm on their side in that regard. And that's a mindset change of like, hey, I want to make sure I'm the right wedding photographer for you. I want to make sure I'm hammering home like, hey, is this everything that you need? And it's like, do you want this kind of thing? Do you see this kind of thing? Do you want this? Do you need this? Because if I'm going into that, then they're going, yeah, this is 100% what we want. And I go, how do we make this work? How do we come together? How do we work together to make this work? As opposed to, you need to come to me, come to me. It's like, no, 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 we work together. And I think that's kind of like a mindset change as opposed to, oh, I need the money. Here's the money. Please give me the money. Money, money, money. And like all
Yeah.
these little things. That might be a little bit all over the place, but you know what? It's kind of all culminates in I always want to have their best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps me go into it with like, hey, we're working together and I want us to be good friends and I want to do the best I can for your day. And if I'm starving on the street, can't really do the best I can for your day, can you?
Yeah. Totally makes sense. I mean, if it sounds like there's like two big changes that you've made. Like, first is your mindset of like knowing that you're totally worth it based on the
Mm,
experience that you have, what you can actually provide for these couples. And the second thing is you're not afraid to let them go. Like, you're
yeah.
not desperate, you're not chasing, you're not thirsty. What created that second shift for you? Because that's a very good abundant mindset.
Yeah, 100%. I think that might have been the hugest. Okay, the ads are really great, but the hugest change almost for me was that abundance mindset and just kind of coming at it from a, hey, you know what? The ads are working. The sales stuff is working. If this couple is not working for me, that's that's not the end of the world. And like doing the course and coming through all that kind of stuff and just being able to go, hey, it's okay to say no to a couple. Before this course, oh my God, if I had to say no to a couple, oh my gosh, that was like out of 2 calls a month, like that's ridiculous to say no to a
Right.
couple. Especially when I was charging a pittance and be like, I just need the money. Oh my gosh. Um, so coming into the course and hearing being like, it's okay to say no to a couple. It's just like, okay, we can do things now. Because now it's like, hey, I got on a call with a couple and they're talking about this stuff. And they're talking about all these things. And they're talking about stuff that I'm like, I don't, that's not really my jam. But you know what? That's okay. Kind of ask them like clarify a couple things. And I go, you know what? I don't think I'm the right wedding photographer for you. And being able to just say that to no to couples on the call has just been like, oh, when I have a couple that's on a call that I like, makes it so much better. And it's
Yeah.
just like just that little thing of, hey, it's okay to say no to a couple because there will be more and the ads are working and more people will come in and you won't be destitute and be living out on the street. It's okay.
Where's all that confidence coming from? Like, I get the abundance mindset. That's exactly what we teach. Is it because like you now have like a plethora of leads, so you're not feeling like I need to go after this? Like, what else is kind of contributing to this?
I think it's definitely like a huge amount of leads coming in and like looking at the calendar and seeing calls book up and you're like, awesome. And I think also just the fact that they're working. They're working as well. Like it's not just calls of people who are coming in and being like, oh, it's like we would just want a free thing. Can we just get the
Yeah.
free thing? And I'm like, you're interested in the free thing. It's okay. I think it's just like the calls are working. It's the confidence. It's like the whole Rapid Bookings group as well. Like I'll post like, hey, I just booked like a wedding to Japan. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome, dude. Congrats. And like I'm super excited for that wedding. And everyone on the course is like, dude, that's so awesome. Congrats. Um, and just like all that, like, hey, the thing is working. And it's like, oh, this isn't just fluff. This actually works. And it helps kind of like, hey, it's like I'm not just I'm not just lucking out because I'm the cheapest photographer around. It's like I'm worth it, and that comes from just like it works and the plethora of leads and just all those things kind of come together and just like, you know what, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. And I totally forgot about your wedding to Japan.
Yeah, I'm
So
I'm super I'm super excited, and me and my partner are gonna make a trip out of it as well. And we actually just picked out a engagement ring as well, so I'm gonna do it over there.
ooh,
So yeah,
good
it's
job.
it's it's gonna be it's gonna
Congrats.
be it's gonna be good times.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah,
definitely a trip and a memory to remember forever. I'm happy for you.
yeah, I'm super super excited.
When are you guys going again?
In September, in the middle of
Nice.
September. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it's
Looking
gonna be
forward
good.
to all those photos. Please post that in the community.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah. All right. Going back to the conversation. So, sounds like you're able to kind of weed people out and then only work with your ideal couples. A lot of photographers
Mhm.
have this common misconception where they're thinking, I cannot run ads successfully and reach my ideal couples. Like I have to like rely on referrals and have them network with their friends and send me some clients. What would you say to those people that are still believing those old thoughts and living in the past?
What I would say to them is that work on your copy. And you know what? Like if you are scared and you're only relying on those referral couples, if you build out something that like really attracts your ideal couple and it's not as successful as something more generic, I say that you're still hitting your mark. You're still working on with your ideal couples. You're still doing that because otherwise you wouldn't have anything. You'd just be working with nothing before. So if you're like, hey, I want to work with only this kind of couple and I only get the reference clients from them before, then like, hey, if you weren't running ads, you weren't doing changing things to make sure it's a little bit more solidified and your brand is more consistent to attract those ideal couples, you're not doing anything. You're not changing anything. So it's like, hey, give it a try. Give it a try and give that put that little bit of work in and see what happens. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was confusing or not. I felt like it was a bit
No,
confusing.
it makes sense to me. Um, what do you think is your number one piece of advice for anybody watching this? And if they're not a student with us yet?
What I would say is that the main thing for me is just like you can get to a place where you are super happy with your business. You can get to a place where you're super confident. You can get to a place where you are going to have tons of leads and all those things coming in. And you can get to that place on your own eventually, or you can do that in 4 months with the Rapid Bookings course. Because for me, like, yeah, it's kind of the first time. Like when I first started shooting weddings, it's like, wow, I'm getting to do this on my own. This is super awesome. But until I did this course, I was like, is this something I am proud to talk about to like my grandmother, who was a business lawyer, who is like, oh Ryan, is your business succeeding? Are you actually doing this correctly? Is it profitable and is it something sustainable? And like now I'm like, I can show you the numbers. It is
Yeah.
successful. It is working as intended, and you can get to that mindset. You can get to all that. You can get there, and just like have that confidence. And once you build that confidence, things will come.
Those are sometimes the toughest conversations because I
Yeah.
also remember my dad calling me like literally every week. How's it going? How's it going? I'm like, no, nothing's changed in a week, dad. And it was always embarrassing. I would always have to say, yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Yeah, I'm seeing some signs of improvement, but deep down, it's
Mhm.
kind of like, okay, can you stop? Don't bother me. How does it feel for you now to be able to tell your grandma, like, here's the hard proof, here's the results?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been super awesome because it's I don't have to go like I don't have to go, oh, I'm shooting this many weddings a year. It's, oh, I am profitable and I am successful and I'm doing it. And like it's not just like I don't have to hide the numbers. I don't have to like, oh, I'm shooting this many weddings a year, but it's for this amount of money. It's like, no, this is what I'm working on, and I'm booking calls and I'm having things. I don't feel like I have to hide, which is really great. I don't have to
Yeah,
be embarrassed.
right. What do you think was your biggest motivation to kind of keep pushing and not, stay stuck in the same spot?
uh, I think the biggest motivation before the course was, hey, like, is this going to be my career forever? Is this something that is going to be sustainable? Is in my career, or am I going to be kind of stuck? And I'm going to have to look at another job, and maybe I'll take a couple of weddings here and there as like extra things. Um, and then in the course, being like kind of seeing kind of that mindset change and doing all the things, doing the mood board, doing all these things, and just being like, hey, this is like it is attainable. And I've set out like, hey, I need to charge this much to make my goal. And it's like, you know what? It is totally attainable, and that makes it less scary. It's like, hey, I can make it to six figures. I can do this, and it's not it's not the end of the world, and the thing works. And it's kind of a perpetual motion machine. If like, hey, I book weddings and the ads work, therefore I have more confidence in my business.
Yeah.
Therefore, I book more weddings, and it's kind of a perpetual motion machine. It keeps itself running.
Yeah. But then the opposite is also true. When you don't have enough leads and inquiries, you don't book enough weddings, the confidence go down. Now your prices are getting slashed just because they have a lower budget and puts you kind of in a negative spiral.
I started to run into that at the end of June, which was my first ad ran for that time. The end of June, I think the ad was starting to run its
Fatigue.
course. It was starting
Yeah.
to fatigue. But you know what? At the same time, I was like, you know what? It has been this successful this whole time. Just because this is a downslope at this moment doesn't mean it's not going to come back up. And I worked with you guys on the course, on the call to set out a new ad and get a new thing running. And now it's going back up.
Love
And
it.
for the month of July, we're not even done the month of July. I have booked $12,000 in weddings.
Love it. It's
So
only
like,
20 days into the month.
yeah, and it's like, you know what? Like there are going to be ups and downs, and it's going to be okay if you keep working at the machine and you don't work at it dumbly. You don't keep banging your head against the wall. You work with it to say like, hey, here, I need a little bit of help. What is going on with this? What do you guys think of this kind of thing? Doing all those things, working together with it, then like, hey, it's going to come back up. And like it's going to cost a little bit of money, but that you're going to see a return on that.
Yeah. I mean, that $1,800 in that ad spend is nothing compared to what you've gotten out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I personally would gladly pay that every single day to make $41,000 on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been really, yeah, really useful, and just like, yeah, that's 100%. I'm not doing any weddings. I'm not doing any weddings for free with that money. It's not like, oh, I've covered my cost.
Hmm.
It's like, no, it's cover the cost. And I think, yeah, I think the little thing here says 2,141% return on investment. And I was like,
Ridiculous.
that's why that makes sense. Yeah, the upfront is a lot. It's not cheap,
Hmm.
but if you work on it and it gets there, and it will get there.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, Ryan, have you ever been in other courses, programs? Like, did you ever reach out for help on this, or were we the first people that you work with?
I did a couple of other things here and there. They were just little courses things, but they're mostly just kind of like videos, and it wasn't so much solidified stuff. It was more of it was more of like, hey, here's the general purpose, like tips and tricks to like book more weddings, whatever thing. And I was just like, it is a thing of you don't go to a jack of all trades to help you do a thing. You need to hyper focus or have someone specific to a thing to do it right. And that's the reason why we're wedding photographers, because we're not like jack of all trade photographers. We're like, no, 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 you pay me the big bucks because I'm a wedding photographer. So
Hmm.
there's all these courses and things that were like how to do wedding photography, how to do this, how to do this marketing for that, how to do like it was so many things together that nothing focused on a very specific thing. And that's where rapid bookings felt super different, because it was like, hey, we're going to hyper focus on the mindset, sales, and ads of the thing. And we're going to make this funnel, this whole thing work. We're not gonna be like, okay, and here's how to post on Instagram, and here's how to do this, and here's how to SEO, and all these other things. It's like, you know what? It's just that individual bit that focuses on that. And for me, that was what I needed, because it just like, hey, we're focusing on this part and we're making that work.
Yeah. I mean, when I created the entire program, I thought about like, could an 8-year-old do this if they follow the exact steps and
Mm.
get the results? Obviously, not, bashing your intelligence or anything like that. But that was my thought process. It should be literally like, I do this and I get that. And that's why it's called a rapid booking system. It's a system. It's not just a generalized thing like, oh, try these. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not. Who knows?
yeah, and it's like it is step by step. It's like I remember hearing from other photographer things I had done, and they were like, "Oh, you should do like a video ad and set it for $10 a day." And then I'm like, compared to this course where it's like step by step, here's how to set up this thing, here's how to do this, here is how to this works with this thing, here is how it all comes together. These are the tracking things you need to do. All these things come together, and it's like it's so much more focused and so much more like, to the point where when some people in the calls and they're like, oh, I'm not having success with this thing, and I'm like, I look at their thing and I'm like, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I didn't see that in the course. And like, it's in the course. I
Yeah.
know because I did it, and I followed it religiously because it works.
Yeah, you were a great sponge. You soaked up everything and you applied it. So that's definitely been amazing. I don't have to like coach you too much. It's like I say it and it's done, which is what I love about you.
Yeah, because
So
it's yeah, I trust the system. I trust the system and I want to make it work, so I don't want to deviate and I want to try it and make sure it works.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people watching this right now, they're probably in the same position that you were in like 5, 6 months ago.
Mhm.
Not a lot of bookings, feeling like, okay, what do I really do? And they might be thinking like, yeah, I need some help. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're so cocky or so delusional that they don't realize that they actually need help. Like, first of all, if you're that person, let me tell you this, like, if you're going to climb Mount Everest, would you rather do it by yourself or with a guide that's done it a million
Mhm.
times? Like, who's got the higher probability of success? At this point, we've turned around, I don't know, 100 plus wedding photography businesses. So like, if you're struggling to just make one business successful, come to us. We'll take care of you. Um, but then the second thing is, this is probably what you can answer on. If they're like, yeah, do I invest in my business? Do I invest in a course? Do I invest in ads? Because they're feeling so scared because they don't have that abundance mindset yet. What advice do you have for them to just like push through?
Um, yeah, because I totally remember being in that situation. I remember being in that situation of I was like, this is a lot of money, and I can see the value in it, but that doesn't stop it from being a lot of money, and I don't have a lot of bookings coming in. What I say to those people is that you can get to that ultimate level, but you have to invest in it. It's the same thing like I mean it's the same thing with like our wedding photography gear and stuff. Like, hey, there's a reason why you're not shooting the wedding with an iPhone. Like you need to invest in that gear to make this more money. You can invest in that and you will see a return. You will see a return if you put in the effort, you work on the course, you change your mindset, all these things. It will come to be as long as you're making sure that you're getting that stuff done because you can try your best to like do all that stuff on your own to try and bring it all together, but you don't have to. You don't have to. And I think the major thing that kind of pushed me was that like it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And if you're scared and if you need to put a little money aside and if you need to like, hey, I'm just gonna like life might kind of suck for a little bit and I don't get to go out and hang out with my friends or I have to do most things at home or I have to cancel this thing. It's like when you come out on the other side, you'll be like, "Oh, that was so worth it." And now I have all that time to go hang out with friends and all this kind of stuff. And I have all this time to do those things I want to do because the thing is working and I get to actually enjoy that now as opposed to living in that constant stress and constant, is this going to work out? Am I going to be able to make rent next month? Am I going to have to take money out of my taxes or stuff like that as money I was set aside? Do I have to do all these things? It's like once you get out of there, and you can get out of there, and then it'll be much, much better. And you'll be like, wow, I am so happy I did that.
100%. And like between you and me, Ryan, this is probably a very controversial statement, but like everything that you're struggling with in your business, that's your choice.
Mm.
Because wedding photography isn't like you're trying to build the next rocket ship to go land on the moon. Like wedding, there's people out there that have made this business successful over and over. You just have to go ask them how they did it and just follow those steps. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to land on the moon, that you have to come up with this answer. So if you're struggling, it's because you're so stubborn that you're not asking for that help. And maybe
Mhm.
the reason why is like you don't want to put in a little bit of money to getting help, which is ridiculous because I mean, nothing works without investing in yourself first. You invest, then you see the results. You know, you sign up
Mhm.
for the gym, start working out, then you see the results. I see why a lot of people stay stuck is they're like, well, I haven't seen results yet in my business, so I don't think I'm going to work on it. It's kind of counterintuitive. Like if I want to have abs before I have even stepped inside the gym, how the hell is that going to work? So if that's anybody's mindset, like you gotta break that belief. It has to be I input the investment, the time, the energy, the passion, the dedication, then the results come back and it feeds it. But you have to start first.
100%. 100%. It's like having a really heavy bike that it's really hard to start pedaling. But if you put into it and you get rolling, then eventually that thing starts rolling on its own. And you're having to put barely any effort into it. And it just keeps going.
Yeah. I mountain bike. I know exactly what you're talking about. Cool. Before we wrap up, biggest piece of advice to new students that are watching this video.
Listen to the course. Oh my God. Just like listen to the course. Don't have it open, be doing something else, editing photos. Listen to the course. If you need to stand up and like walk around a little bit, but listen to the course because I listened to the course and now I'm just like in a much better place.
Cool. Love it. Thank you. That's a wrap.